And good afternoon, everybody. Usually it's evening, but welcome to the Wise Guy Sports Talk Show here on ESS, Empire State Sports. Today, a little bit something different. We're going to be going and inviting people in and people coming in and talking numerous topics. So we're going to start letting people in a little bit at a time here, and we're going to have one come in. I think I know this gentleman.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mark Wahl. So that's my cousin from Albany area. We're going to let him in as soon as he gets on here.
He looks great.
He looks great, yeah. He's got a face for radio. You hear us?
Name spelled right and everything.
Yeah. Do you hear us, Mark?
Yes.
I ain't got no picture on you, brother.
Well, hold on. I'll show you. I'll show you why. That's why.
That's right,
Go
man.
back.
That's
Go,
right.
go back.
Just pull it back. You look like the rest of us.
Yeah.
All right, that looks fine. Perfect.
I'm laid up here with my broken foot.
Oh, you broke a foot.
Oh yeah, had surgery on Thursday.
Oh
Oh,
boy.
that's right. That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
Got a plate and screws and all that kind of stuff.
Jeez.
Yeah.
So
Well,
you
David's
and I
going through one.
You and I could have a race right now.
Yeah. I can't believe it's the pinky toe. It's the the bone, it's a metatarsal. It's in there, but it's by the base near the heel where it broke. And it's like, really? That little bone?
Cause all that kind of problem.
Oh,
So, Mark, what's on your mind besides the Yankees today?
that's is there anything else on but the Yankees today?
There's Buffalo Bills. There was a hockey last night.
Oh, and NHL is still a thing?
Oh yeah. Yep. We watch it. We watch it.
I've been watching about 6-7 years now.
I don't know. That Yankee collapse last night. Just
Oh,
I don't even know what to say about it.
Such an exceptional bullpen.
unbelievable.
I told Pete, baseball, they're losing me because the regular season in baseball, and it's this way in all sports except for football. The regular season now means nothing in baseball.
Right.
Because playoff baseball, winning 3 out of 5 games is not that big a deal, but winning 105 games to win your division is a big deal, and you don't get rewarded for it, and then baseball with the scheduling for the Yankees, a day off in between the first 2 home games, that didn't help, and then the rain out didn't help, and now Garrett Cole better go 8 innings tonight and win the thing, because their bullpens, who's coming out?
They don't have one left.
The days of Mariano Rivera are over.
Oh boy, yeah.
Yeah.
Or even if you want to go back further, Goose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I originally said that having Chapman off the line, out of the lineup was no big deal, but I don't, maybe it is a big deal. I know he's really lost a lot of his effectiveness he's not what he was a couple of years ago, but still, I mean, he's a legitimate closer, which I think we could have used last night.
Could use some help, that's for sure.
Yeah. Well, and I like the Schmidt kid. I think he can be good in the future, but to toss him out there last night in that situation, yeah. So, like I said, Cole's got. I hope Cole better pitch a good game tonight. Otherwise, he is just going to get lambasted. If they're down 4-0 at the end of 2 or something like that, it's probably over. So, and then I think they're going to start. If they win tonight, I think the Jameson Tyone is starting tomorrow. So
yeah.
Well, we were talking before you came on there, Mark, about Aaron Judge being the next Alex Rodriguez, because A-Rod and Judge have always had great seasons. But I'm hoping he doesn't follow in A-Rod's footsteps, and when he gets a
Right.
postseason, he's a choker.
Right.
So far, he's been that. I mean, all these strikeouts, and now he had a home run last night, which tied it. But I feel sorry for the kid at some point, but I don't know.
Well, I have to say, going back in history there, when the Yankees made the deal for A-Rod, I thought it was a mistake. Everybody thought it was the best thing since sliced bread. I said, no, this guy might give us a year or so, but no, he's not. He's especially being in New York. I mean, he could probably play in a small market and be okay, but not in New York. But I don't have that feeling about Judge. You know what I mean? I like
Not
you said,
yet.
I hope he comes around. I hope tonight he has a big night. But one guy can't carry that team.
No.
Right, yeah.
That's the problem. You can't put all your eggs in the Judge basket.
Right.
Mhm.
And to further that, you can't rely on the home run solely.
Right.
I mean, they help, but you got to be able to manufacture runs too.
Right. Yeah, I think today baseball is more like old school National League, playing that small ball.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's really what it is, instead of crushing those home runs. But what do I know?
What about last night? I can't remember if there was 2 outs and it would have ended the game now, but the left-handed batter, the Yankees had the shift on, and he hit it right where the shortstop would normally be standing.
Yeah.
I'm like, Derek Jeter would have been standing there back in the day before the shift became a big deal.
I've always been interested in the shift and what the statistics are, to really look and see, is it effective? How many times do players hit where, away from the shift? I don't know. I mean, I'm sure they got all those metrics and doing all that, but I've always been curious of those statistics. Does it really work?
That would be very interesting to see that.
Another thing we haven't seen in a long time, and I know we don't discuss a lot of this stuff, but getting people on, moving them over, bunting people over. We don't see a lot of that. We don't see a lot of steals anymore.
Hit and run deals.
Yeah, it's a totally different game than what it was.
Right.
Even 10 years ago.
Right.
So
the way they set lineups. I mean,
Yeah.
back in our day, Aaron Judge is a 3-hitter or a 4-hitter. And we got him leading off. And even when he wasn't, the leadoff thing just really started with him. But you got him batting second. I'll never understand. Your second place hitter back in our day was a guy that could
get on,
handle the bat, not strike out, move a runner. If a man was on, how many times now do you get a man on second base with less than 2 out and nobody even thinks about hitting the ball to the right-hand side?
Right.
They can't do it.
Yeah.
They all have a pull uppercut swing. Every one of them.
Yeah, even the little guys. How many RBIs do you think Judge would have if he was batting third or fourth?
Right.
Yeah, because to Judge's credit, he will take pitches the other way, and he obviously hits for average. He hit 311, but I look at like Gleyber Torres and Stanton. Guys are hitting 30 some home runs and you don't get to 100 RBIs. That means you're just trying to hit home runs.
Right.
There's nothing else going on. You don't get RBIs off your base hits. So
I understand the whole batting first thing, because you're getting more bats in the game. That's I'm sure the logic behind it. But you're right. What happened to those days when your leadoff batter was a guy who had a good on base percentage and had speed? So if he did get on first, he could steal second.
Right.
And like you were saying, that second batter move him to second or to third.
We don't talk much about Gardner, but he got on base and he was able to run and get steals and make things happen. I don't know. I was kind of I don't know. I really liked him as a player. But I don't know if they got anybody on that team right now that can even be close to doing that. I don't know. It, it depends on the night. There's certain guys that'll step up and tonight, somebody's got to step up.
Right.
I mean, like Joey said, Cole has to pretty much pitch 7, 8 perfect innings tonight. And because we're not our run scoring is definitely down. So I don't know. I'll be honest with you, I was optimistic, but I'm not optimistic anymore, especially down 2-1, and we're still at Cleveland, you know. So I'm not optimistic about that tonight, but we'll see. The only optimism I have is Cole's pitching.
Yeah.
But like we
it's going to be a tough 2 games. Even so,
Yep.
Yankees win tonight, it's not in the bag. I mean, even though they're going back to New York for the last game, it's not. I mean, we saw Cleveland win game 2 in New York. So
yeah. Just like Joey said, if Cole has a bad night, we could be down 4-0 at the end of 2 innings, and it's going to be a long uphill road. So we'll see.
It won't be for me. I'll go to bed and I won't watch it. So
they'll have tea times on Tuesday if they lose tonight.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yep. Totally agree.
And going back to what I said about the regular season, look what happened on the National League. Nobody is going to tell me that the Philadelphia Phillies and the San Diego Padres are the 2 best teams in the National League. They aren't. They got hot. They just got hot at the right time.
Yeah.
Right.
The Dodgers, and that's why I don't like what baseball's doing. Keep adding teams. I want to watch the best teams, and the 2 best teams in the National League are the Dodgers and the Braves, and they're done.
Yep.
I don't like it. So same things. You know, if the Yankees lose tonight, yeah, Cleveland's a good team, but they're not. I don't see them doing anything to Houston. So
no, I don't either.
I wish I'd like to see baseball add 2 more teams, bring Montreal back, and go to 8-team divisions, and you're battling. 1 team gets to go out of each division, and just have an American League Championship Series and a National League Championship Series like it was when we were growing up. Because from 1969, when they did that, until they decided to add whatever, I mean, that I couldn't wait for baseball playoffs. It was drama every year. I mean, every year there was drama in the ALCS, NLCS, and the World Series because you were getting the best teams in baseball.
Yep.
Well, here's something that's going on in other industries. You know, I just retired as a professor from a college, and we're seeing the stats for the number of people going on and doing this. So our population is getting less and less. And so I'm going to bring this back to baseball and say that when they added those teams, and I agree with you, Joey, that they've diluted the pool. It's only going to get worse going forward because the pool itself is going to be smaller. We don't have as many people in these new generations as we had coming out like when we were kids. It's just you're right. To be quite honest, I think instead of adding those teams that you're talking about, I'd love to see one back in Montreal. You got to move some of them.
No, I'm not a big fan of the wild card either. Like you just said, I think it should be division leaders, and that's it, and move on. I mean, we all might be pissing and moaning a little bit here too because we're Yankee fans.
Right.
But let's be real. Let's be realistic. We're probably pissing and moaning because we are Yankee fans. But in all actuality, I totally agree with Joey. I think we've gone too far, and I think it was. And you know as well as I do. And we're going to talk about something else here shortly that's close to my heart about this home run thing. But I think it's just a money grab by the major league to get more people in the stands and get more stuff going. That's just my personal feeling. So going from that to the home run thing, let's talk about we've done this a couple times on, I posted it on question of the week. Home run kings. I mean, is Aaron Judge the true home run king now? Because we've all talked about the asterisk steroid era. Now, here's my defense. I'm a huge baseball fan. I love the whole time when they had the Sosa McGuire thing going head to head. I mean, people were glued to the TV. They were packing stands. Major League knew what was going on. They knew what was going on, and they were capitalizing on it.
And so did we, to be quite honest.
Oh, sure.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Barry Bonds' head looked like Pete's right now.
Well, my head's small compared to my grandson, I'll just let you know. But anyway, yeah.
Well, I just to get a little perspective and bring up Barry Bonds like that. I was stationed in Northern Virginia, and actually in Washington, D.C., when he played in AAA. I didn't know him from nobody. I mean, I didn't know who he was. I didn't know, his lineage, his father was, the name didn't ring a bell to me. We went and watched him a few times, and I told my wife, I said, that kid is going someplace. He's a really good, but he was wiry.
Oh, skinny.
Yeah.
Skinny as could
Oh,
be.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
He's
he's
the body was
at
holding.
least twice as big as he was, maybe
Mhm.
3 times.
Mhm.
So,
Well, and same thing. You look at McGuire from his and now granted, we all of us, our body's different from when we were teenagers to when we were, mature adults. But you look at McGuire when he was on, playing on the Olympic team compared to when he was doing the home run chase. I mean, his forearms went from this to this,
mhm.
and just, but Bonds transformation was incredible because like I said, your head doesn't grow as you get older. Except for
Now,
him.
there's been a lot
Except
of
for Pete.
Yeah, and Pete.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Except for Pete.
Pete, are you
Well,
juicing?
Huh?
Are you juicing? Is that what's going on over there?
I got ginger ale right now, so that's the only juice I'm doing right now. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm gonna do a beer later, but it's gonna be a Miller Lite. I gotta,
Watch the carbs. Yeah.
gotta watch the carbs and calories. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, now you got me off. I just had that squirrel moment. Now I forget what I was gonna say. Thanks.
Mandatory drug testing for wise guys. All right.
Well, as long as they don't test us for booze, we'll be all
Right.
set. I was gonna say something now, but can't remember.
Well, you were talking about who's the real home run king.
Well, no, I understand that, but there's been a lot of talk out there, so I might as well start out the conversation with you guys, see what you think. Does steroids actually make you a better hitter? Because you still have to make
Right.
physical contact. It's an eye game. But does it make it hit further? So there's a big difference. I personally think, yeah, you might get a few more feet on your ball, but you still got to have that eye and hand coordination to hit the
Yeah.
ball. So that's where I'm a little fuzzy with all this, because personally, I don't care if anybody takes steroids if it's a medical issue. I mean, if it is just to beef them up, that's one thing. You still got to swing the bat and make eyeball and bat contact. So what do you guys think about that? Mark, you're in the medical field. So.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I
Sorry,
completely
Joey,
agree
sorry,
that the eye-hand coordination is what you had, and that was one of the things when I saw Barry Bonds in AAA. That was one of the things that I saw that he had back then. I don't think that's. I think you're correct. The eye-hand thing, that's something you either have or you don't. I don't think you can juice to that. It's the strength kind of thing, the juice that you can put behind that swing. But to get off the home run thing just for a minute, you're talking about juicing in case of for medical reasons. What about a guy like Andy Pettitte who took it when he was rehabbing? I mean, we don't talk about the pitchers who
Right.
may have been juicing, right? you know, and I don't know if that makes you throw it faster. I would think so, since that's a muscle thing, you know.
I
But
would,
yeah.
yeah, I would think it would have a lot more effect on pitchers than it would hitters.
Right.
And if steroids made you hit more home runs, then we'd be talking about a lot more than 3 guys.
Right.
You know, Bonds, Sosa, and McGuire, because they weren't the only ones that were doing steroids. You know, so if the steroids are what made them hit all the home runs, then yeah, there'd be more guys in that conversation.
Well, and the other thing we hadn't brought up yet with the steroid thing, yeah, you still need all that ability, but I think a big part about the steroid thing is your recovery time.
Yeah.
Especially with pitchers. You know, they're not wearing out because obviously steroids is it's helping them. So, and the best example of that, and I still think every one of these guys belong in the Hall of Fame. But Roger Clemens was the perfect example of it looked like he was done, and then all of a sudden he became a stud again.
Yeah.
And it obviously because of steroids. So you're right. I think it really helps pitchers a lot. And I don't think in Andy, Mark brought up a good point. I've always been a huge Andy Pettitte fan. I think he deserves at least to be thought of for the Hall of Fame. I mean,
yes.
he never had a losing season. He won 250 games, which really now is the 300 mark because nobody's ever going to get to 300 again.
Nope.
And he really did, and he was with Clemens when it happened. I'm sure that's why he started taking it to help his rehab, Mark. So
he saw
they were working out together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he saw how it helped Clemens, and it wasn't illegal,
right?
You know, so you know, oh yeah, let me do it too. Now I only bring up Andy Pettitte because of you, Joey. He's probably the most underrated pitcher. You know, at least in my opinion, from the Yankees, he was Mr. Consistent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
he wasn't flashy.
Nope.
He'd go out, he'd give you, 6, 7, 8 innings, consistent. Only give them a couple of runs, and he put them in a place where they could win.
And you better watch your lead when you got on first. You better
best pickoff move.
Yes,
ever. So, yeah, no, I think Andy is underappreciated. I always liked him, and like I say, nobody's going to get to 250 again, right?
No.
So that, and then there's another. We're talking about the home runs. The home run number gets bigger, but the pitching numbers are just wins don't matter anymore. It's
right.
whips and
right.
Whatever that spin rates.
So let's talk a little bit about the pitching back in the old days. We never had a lot of setup men. We had guys that would start, and then you had the relievers come in and pitch 2, and if they stretched it out, 3 innings. We don't have that anymore. We have middle relievers and all this other setup guys, and that's something that's fallen by the wayside also in sports.
Totally different in Tampa Bay with Madden really changed that. Openers.
Yeah.
You have a guy come out to throw an inning. I always thought, why don't you just go out and get 9 guys that can throw 100 miles an hour?
9 closers.
They each get an inning a day. It's like an all-star game. I mean, what's the point of having a starter anymore? Just have a guy go say, hey, give me 1 inning, throw it as hard as you can, and we'll use you again tomorrow.
Yeah.
For another inning. So totally different. I mean, the days of whoever you grew up with, of Whitey Ford or Ron Guidry, when it comes to Yankee guys, I just think of Guidry. That year he went 25-3. He had 13 complete games, 9 shutouts.
Yeah.
I'm never going to see that again.
No. And Pete brought up a good point too. I can remember a Kansas City Royal game before we got Goose in 77. Sparky coming in, game 5. Sparky Lyle, Billy Martin comes out and brings Sparky out in the 4th inning, and he pitched the rest of the game. I know Mariano is the greatest reliever of all time, but Pete's right. It used to just be today's we're riding our starter until we get to the closer. There
Yeah.
was no in between stuff. There was no setup man. It changed when Mariano came, but
And their goal today is to get possibly to the fifth inning.
5 or 6. Yeah.
Yeah.
5 or
and get to
6.
the fifth inning, and then we don't need you anymore. Whether you're pitching perfect game or not, we're gonna pull you. So
They just did that recently. Who was it? There was going into the 6th inning, had a no hitter or a perfect game going, and got pulled because they reached their pitch count.
Severino. It was
Yeah,
Severino.
it was.
Sevy, yeah.
Well, just to be devil's advocate for a minute, I mean, if you're looking at longevity of your starters,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean? Maybe that's not a bad idea, is to put your starters out there for only 5 innings so that, you don't wear them out when it comes time for the playoffs. But you got to have them step up during the playoffs.
Yeah.
But that falls back, Mark, on what Joey just said.
The regular season doesn't matter.
That, and you'll never see another 250 game winner anymore.
No.
How is that benefiting? How is that benefiting your team when you're sending your player out for 4 or 5 innings? All right, thanks, great job. Well, and the next 4 innings are shit, and he doesn't get to win. So, at least you were in command of your own destiny years ago when you could actually pitch 6, 7 innings. Now you pitch 4 innings, you're not involved in the rest of the game. So now you're up to the middle. I hate saying that middle reliever crap because it doesn't happen. It shouldn't happen. I don't know.
I think it's a different personality too today. You're talking about back in our day where you would take offense if you were going to get pulled out early. You know what I mean?
The pitcher was upset.
Think about this 10, 15 years ago. You try to pull like a one of these pitchers we've been talking about in the 5th inning, they'd be screaming and hollering.
Bob Gibson. That's the name.
Yeah.
Bob Gibson. He probably would have beaned you as you were walking out to get him.
That's right.
Yeah,
Or slugged you when you got on the mound.
He threw his glove at coaches before.
Yeah.
On the mound, he threw it. Yep.
But the today's player, that's a new generation, and the thought process with them is different. They're that whole, put it on me, coach, kind of thing. Lead me in. This is what you pay me to do, or this is what I'm supposed to do. That doesn't really exist as much anymore in the players' minds as much as it is in the management minds.
So let's jump over to the home run thing again and talk about Albert Pujols, who has just finished up a fantastic career. Has never had any kind of question about anything in his life. Over 700 home runs, over 3,000 hits. Huge Hall of Fame material right there. He should go in the first ballot, no problem. So anybody have anything they want to say about Albert? I mean, definitely class act as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I don't think there's any debate. You've never heard him associated with steroids. Again, I don't think to me, it doesn't matter to me about the steroids. I mean, we all bought in on it, but when it comes to Albert, I don't even think it's a no-brainer. It's an absolute no-brainer.
It's funny you bring that up because probably about 2 weeks ago, I read something on him, and he was brought into that conversation and had accusations, and he sued the guy who accused him of it. And there was no proof, and so he had I don't know if he had to pay Albert Pujols. I don't know, what the resolution, but the bottom line is that he had to retract his statement saying, that he was part of it because he had no proof. So whereas the other ones, couldn't do that.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. My feeling is that Albert Pujols, although he may not be clean, I think you're right, Pete. I think he should be a first ballot Hall of Famer.
The hell? Is that Titan snoring or something?
Yeah.
Is it? Hey, he wants to get his 2 cents in too. Oh, he's okay.
Yeah, when he lays on the floor, he snores like that. When he lays in his bed, he doesn't. So trying to get him to go lay on his bed.
No, he wasn't bothering me. I just thought somebody had a lawnmower going in the background there. What was going on there?
I realized it earlier, and then I forgot about it.
I know we weren't running a lawnmower here. We had 34 degrees this morning. So
Yeah, 33 this morning here.
yeah.
So here's another thing. So we're just talking about this. Does the Hall of Fame mean anything anymore?
Hmm.
I
think it does. I think it does to us, but that's a good question there, Dave.
We can go back as far as, you go back as far as baseball itself. I mean, when you talk about the Chicago Black Sox, and of course, we've seen the movies and we've read about it, and but were all the players that were banned, were they all in on the fix? Some of them weren't, but still got banned. And then more recently, of course, Pete Rose, and now the hitters that we talked about, and the players from the steroid era, that aren't going to get into the Hall of Fame. So
I guess I always looked at it, Dave, like, you can't tell the story of baseball without Shoeless Joe Jackson, without Pete Rose, without Barry Bonds. And if you can't tell the story of baseball without those guys, then they deserve to be in your Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
We're not talking about who was the right fielder on the Black Sox. I don't know who it was.
Right.
We're talking about Shoeless Joe, So yeah, if you're talking about them, then they deserve to be in. Jose Canseco.
Yeah.
You can say what you want about him, but he was also the one that he came out and told everybody what was going on.
Mhm.
Okay. So you can't tell the story of baseball without him. So I don't know how you don't at least have something about him in the Hall of Fame.
Right. I mean, you're punishing these guys for using steroids, which were at the time were not a banned substance in Major League. No, they were illegal. I mean, and the illegality of it was that you had to have a prescription, and guys were using steroids without a prescription. That's what was illegal. But as far as Major League Baseball, it wasn't a banned substance at the time.
Correct.
I heard one sportscaster say, I think they should give them all steroids and aluminum bats. Just let them go.
Yeah. I don't know. I think there has to be a little bit of difference. You imagine these big bastards with, I'm sorry, my mouth, whatever. Anyway, these big guys, huh?
Oh, my ears.
That's clean for me. But anyway,
My dainty ears, Pete.
Yeah.
All right, Pop, we know better.
Yeah. Can you imagine these big guys with an aluminum bat get an extra 30, 40 feet on their hits? I mean,
I'd be afraid for the pitchers.
Yeah, you'd have some. You have to put one of the.
Yeah.
Well, you have to put one of the batting practice nets up in front of the pitcher.
Yeah.
In
the speed they're coming out the wooden bats right now, again on the AstroTurf, you imagine if it's aluminum bats, I mean, it would be tremendous.
All right, so maybe just the aluminum bats for the home run derbies.
That would be pretty cool.
That would be awesome.
Yeah. Ting, ting, there goes another one. Yeah, that would be pretty cool. Those warning track ones would definitely be out. That's for sure. Yeah. Yeah.
I went to I think it was in Cincinnati when I lived there. Went to a game, and then they had an in-between innings exhibition of softball players hitting from home plate, hitting softballs out into the bleachers. with these. I mean, the technology on aluminum bats has come a long way since.
Oh, yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, since the
Well, I
last time I was a little sheepish about paying $80 for aluminum bat to play softball.
Now you're paying 200-300.
400,
Yeah.
500.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
I think
that thing
I-
got to be able to just hold the bat out like this and you get your hit. I mean,
Yeah.
for that kind of money,
I think we talked about softball. I can't remember what show it was. Might have been with Jody Johnson. I don't know, but I think we specifically, I remember talking about the fact that, Tri-Town Field is right next to my house, and I'll walk by every now and again and catch a little bit of a game as I'm walking by. And the shortstop is a 275 pounder. And you can play shortstop now with no mobility because it doesn't matter. The ball gets hit so hard, it's either at you or reach to your left or reach to your right. You're not
Right.
running a ball down.
They're playing deep infield. I mean, they're not
Yeah.
even, yeah, oh, yeah. Yep, and hoping to catch it on one hop.
yeah.
And the ball, and being the athletic director, so I handle these things. So, the softball that they're using is hard. It's so hard. It's not, I mean, it feels like a baseball. It's just
Big
a bigger
baseball.
baseball now. I remember when back in our day, when I was playing softball, I mean, by the end of the game, the ball would start getting a little punky,
Yeah.
so these balls don't get punky. They stay hard forever. Like if they get wet, they get slick. They don't get softer. They just get slick. It's like playing baseball and softball with an oversized golf ball is really what they're doing.
I don't know if that would help my game at all, to be honest with you, but. Yeah, definitely.
Having a golf ball as big as a softball might help my golf game.
It won't help mine. It won't help mine. I'll tell you that right now. So what do we talk about? Let's talk about hockey now. Now we all got our own feelings on this. Mark's not a great big hockey player, but or hockey fan, I should say. But
back in the day, my big team was, of course, growing up on the Canadian border there, was the Habs.
yeah.
And I was big into it back. I played hockey, I actually had 8 stitches on the side of my head from catching a puck when we lived in Canada, when I was like 8 or 9 years old. Helmet? What helmet?
Yeah.
No,
Right.
we didn't think of no helmets back then, in the 60s. Yeah, that's probably for me one of the sports that I like the best right now as far as the pro level. I don't think it's been as diluted as much or influenced by some of these other influences. I'm sure, steroids and money, that all comes into play, but I still think hockey is probably the purest of the pro sports.
I agree.
Yeah.
I would agree with that. I would agree with that.
I think if anything, Mark, it's gotten faster because we're now playing. Number one, we have a lot of Europeans that are playing for us now, and the European hockey is very fast to begin with. Over there, it was a lot faster than our NHL moons ago, and now since we've now adopted some of the foreigners into our the game is so much faster. I see my nephews. I went out and watched my nephews out in Boston. Unbelievable how quick these kids are at their age level. And I can't imagine. I go to games now. I went down with thank God to Derek Lalone. We'll mention him here. Kisser. I got some free seats down to the Tampa Bay Lightning game last winter, and the speed was unbelievable. And I used to go to NHL games. We all stood on the rail in Montreal.
The old forum.
Yep, on the rails, and everybody showed up at the games in suits and smoking their cigarettes and in the old days. But it is so much of a faster game now. It's unbelievable.
Well, when I was a kid, grew up playing hockey as well. You play hockey for maybe 4 months, and then you were done. you know, and then you had to wait 8 months until hockey season started again. Then you played hockey. You know, you might play a little bit on the pond with your friends, or you might play a little bit of street hockey in the summertime. But I mean, these kids now, and it's the same with every sport. You know, you got your hockey season, and you got your AAU season, then you got your club season, and then you got this season, and then you get, you know, like you said, look at your nephews. How much hockey do they play in a year? I know they do have some,
A lot now.
but I know they do take some time off, but still,
Mhm.
I mean, the amount of hockey that these, and the amount of instruction that they're getting, and, you know, you can hire private coaches, private instructors now, and
Which they have.
which they have, and
Yeah.
training and conditioning, and, you know, how, as a 12-year-old or 10-year-old, training and conditioning, we never did that.
No. No. My training and conditioning was how many Big Macs I was going to eat at the McDonald's after the game.
After the
Right.
game.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Or how many games of kick the can you played during the summer?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I mean, these kids are playing. I know my nephews, and maybe I'm exaggerating. They got to be playing 9-10 months out of the year.
Oh,
Right.
I agree with you, Pete.
Yeah, they used to be. They're exceptional baseball players too.
Yeah.
Right. Yes.
Yeah, but they're living in Boston, which is very, very populated hockey town out there now. Now they're just not playing town leagues. They're traveling. Well, it's not. It's like a big boys version of AAU. I mean, they're out. They went out to California.
Were they just in California playing hockey?
Yeah. So, and one of the coaches they had was an NHL player. So and in order for these kids to get even recognized anymore, they have to do this. And Joey can attest to this as far as basketball and AAU. If you're not playing AAU, you're not getting recognized, because there's so many scouts that are going out to these tournaments and stuff. And Joey can probably elaborate on the AAU thing, but that's where the scouts are going, these AAU tournaments. And so all these tournaments, see you later, Mark. Oh, there you go. Anyway, they got to go out and do some traveling in order to get recognized.
Yeah, I feel like in our day, like with basketball, it was like summer camps, you know?
Right.
That's where you went to for other coaches and other, you know, to see you play. Because, you know, if they didn't see you during your basketball season, you know, your high school season, then yeah, you weren't seen.
Well, and I do yearn for those days again, because now, especially now that, you know, I think I've talked about this before, Toby's gone. And even though I'm still the varsity basketball coach, I'm getting older, and I don't have that ambition anymore to be traveling every weekend, taking the boys. Now, I don't travel to California, but we would travel. There were overnight weekends in Lake Placid or Plattsburgh or Watertown or Syracuse, wherever I took the boys. And, 53 years old.
We live in a part of the state where nothing is close to us.
Right.
You know?
Syracuse is a big deal, Joey. If you got a tournament going on, for us North Country folks, if you're going down to spend a weekend at a tournament for 3 days in Syracuse, that's a big deal. And it's all about this too.
Well, and you're right, Pete. That's one thing I wanted to bring up. That's why I don't like it now, because I mean, now, you guys are kind of removed from this now, but I mean, it's being shoved down our throats right here in the North Country. We're doing fall tournaments before the season starts up here. I know they're all over the place with AAU, but even up here, and it's like, there's one today, and I'm like, Joey, you got to bring your guy. No, they're in the middle of football and soccer season. But they don't have a game on Sunday, but can they have a day of rest?
Yeah, right.
I mean,
what happens if they get injured, Joey?
Right.
Yeah, I'd
Right.
feel terrible. I would feel terrible about it. So, I there's part of me that misses that, because I'll take my coaching skills up against anybody when we start on Monday, November 14th. But the problem is I've got too many coaches against me now that have been working the full year. I do my open gyms and everything, but my guys are now going to be going up against kids that have played 60 games before we start our season.
Oh.
And it's a keeping up with the Joneses in all sports. It's not just basketball and it's not just hockey. It's all sports. But where that ruins it is, and last night's a perfect example with our Hall of Fame. One of the things that got brought up is the 3-sport athlete that we were used to seeing in our days at school is coming to an end because they focus on one, and it's too bad. And the other thing that got brought up a lot last night too, and again, I hate being that in our time, guys, but this was a fact. Pete and Dave grew up together, obviously, so they probably played enough unorganized stuff with each other to know what each other was capable of doing on the baseball field, on the basketball court, whatever the sport was. Our kids don't figure that out anymore until they're on an organized team, because they don't do unorganized. You think back to the days, how many times did you ride your bike to a field or a whatever to play baseball or whatever it was? I would do it 3-4 times a day, and it was all unorganized. Pre-cell phone days where you had to actually call somebody,
right, and
hope they were there.
A bunch of us were talking about that the other day. That's funny you should bring that up. I remember driving 6-7 miles just up to go up to the Goslaw Twins farm up in Fort Thomas Center to play baseball on their field that they just got done cutting.
Yeah.
I remember those days. I remember chugging up to school when we need to.
Walking around the school on the weekend to find an open door.
Find a door,
And get in the gym.
One that was wedged if we didn't have a certain coach with us.
Or a window that one of us might have left unlocked somewhere.
I don't know what you're talking about, but anyway.
Yeah, no, that's what I heard though.
Yeah, but as far as like you're saying, we were growing up, we were playing ball, and we couldn't wait till the time we were old enough to play with the men's league.
Oh yeah.
At our school to play pickup. That's where Dave and I did a lot more playing basketball together than anything else.
Mm-hmm.
And we tried to make sure we were on the same team because we both knew what each other was going to be doing and capable of. So,
I knew if Pete had the ball, I had to have my hands like this.
Yeah, it was coming.
Because the ball was coming somewhere, somehow it was coming in. If my hands weren't ready, it was going to bounce off my chin.
Yeah, but there was nothing to play 10 pickup games that night, and it was a long night. I mean,
right, and then bug the old timers about, come on, one more. Yeah,
as they were over there grinding up their elbows, getting ready to come out and play another game with you. Yeah.
Oh man.
But yeah, those days have passed, and a lot of that has to do with, and I don't know what it is up to your place, Joey, but they claimed there was a liability issue, and now they don't want anybody playing in the school, and
you have to
sign 10 pieces of paper to get approval, and
you have to have insurance now if you want to have pickup at our place. I'm sure it's probably that way everywhere.
Yeah.
Where I grew up, right outside of Plattsburgh, there were a couple of fields that we would play. People owned those things, and it was well past when I left. But yeah, there came a point where probably in the early 80s that the whole liability thing. So if a kid was playing, ball there and broke his leg or, did something else, they'd sue the owner. And nowadays, any kind of open space in any kind of even suburban area, they're building on it.
Right.
Right. So I went back a couple of years ago and drove through the old neighborhood. Those fields are now full of houses and apartments and stuff. So yeah, I don't think they have the opportunity that we did to go just play a pickup game.
And where it's funny, as far as liability goes. So let's just say, for example, myself and a few guys managed to find our way into the school on a weekend day and into the gym and I was to fall and sprain my ankle or do something, suing is the farthest thing from my mind.
Oh,
Yeah.
Getting out of there without getting caught or somebody knowing I did that was
Right.
what I was worried about.
right.
But I mean, that's where we're at in, our society nowadays is who can I profit off of this situation?
Yeah, and it goes right back to that same thing I was saying about how people play games now. It's a whole different mentality. It's about, listen, I'm not pitching eight or nine innings and ruining my arm. You're gonna relieve me after 5 innings, as opposed to back in the days when we were there. You can't take me out after 5. I still got 4 more innings to pitch.
There you go.
And I mean, that's just the reality. It's just a change, and I'm sure that the generations before us were talking about that. Oh, that damn hippie generation.
Well, generation before us were smoking and drinking and during the game on
Yeah.
the
Babe
bench
Ruth.
or in between periods.
That's right.
Oh yeah, I remember going to my Uncle Rainey's games over in Canada.
Oh,
We were offloading the back of the truck, and he says, "Come on, we'll go to a game today." He says he was goaltending. I mean, this man was goaltending in his 50s. I'm over there, and I'm in my 20s, and he says, "Here, carry that bag." So I carried the bag. I thought it was his equipment. I got in there. It's a bag full of beer and ice. I didn't know it was in it. Just throw that in the middle right over there. Well, okay. So,
Uncle Rainey.
yeah,
Woo!
yeah, things have changed. But what else are we talking about, boys? It's been quite an hour right there.
Yeah.
Listen, whether we end here or not, I appreciate this invitation, and I try to keep up with the guys now that I'm retired. I'll be watching a lot more, because usually I watch the replays of them, because a lot of times your shows were either I was working or trying to get some sleep so I could go work. But this has been great. I appreciate this format you guys put together.
We're glad to have you on, and the beauty of our show is on YouTube, so you can watch them anytime.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're encapsulated for life now, Mark.
Oh God. Hey, did you see the thing about my brother-in-law, Mike, St.
Yes.
Louis?
Yes.
Good.
And I tried to get him on the show, and he won't respond to me.
I can tell you right now that he was, and I talked to him last night for a little over an hour. He has, other things going on, but he's a very private, quiet person. He's the opposite of me. I'm put a microphone in front of me, I'll talk for an hour. And even then you got to try to get me to shut up. Him, you put a microphone in front of me, he'll say thank you and then walk away. So I'll talk to him. I mean, he has some, we'll talk offline, Pete, but I think he'll come on. If it was more of, instead of just a focus on him, maybe with 3 or 4 guys and talking about sports kind of thing.
Yeah, I'd love to have him on.
Yeah.
Just so you guys know, his name is Mike St. Louis. He's a former pitcher for St. Louis.
Yep.
But hurt his arm, and unfortunately he's was unable to finish his career. But
Talking about pitching. Yeah, back in the day, his day, he's a little bit older than I am, and I'm in my mid-60s. That's when the coaches would use you had a good pitcher like Mike, and probably one of the best pitchers that ever come out of the North Country, and they just used them in college. They wore him out. And that's why he couldn't make the big leap. I mean, he had the talent to do it. They just didn't have the surgeries back then to repair his shoulders.
Yeah.
So, a great guy too.
Oh yeah, fantastic. Well, gentlemen, it's been a fantastic hour. I appreciate Mark coming on. We opened it up to anybody, and I guess everybody's busy with football, but that's okay. We got a lot accomplished and talked about today, even if I had to look at your hair. But no, thanks a lot for coming on. I really do want to do this again. The next one probably will be Maybe I'll do a live one down from Florida. We got a lot of sports nuts
Yeah.
down there. I should open it up during happy hour down there, and we'd probably get a lot of people talking about it. But thanks for coming on, Mark. We really appreciate it.
Oh, I appreciate the invite.
No problem. For Joey, David, and myself, Pete Gosa, our special guest, Mark Wahl, that's going to be it for today, folks. We're glad you enjoyed our little open broadcast here, talking about things we never talk about. It's, we usually talk about local stuff, but this has been an enjoyable hour. I think we got a lot done today. So I appreciate you guys for coming on. That's going to be it here on ESS, Empire State Sports, and the Wise Guys Sports Talk Show. Have a good day, everybody.